In the American Civil War, the Union had quite a few generals before they finally appointed a competent one in Ulysses S. Grant.
He was a presidential position with basically no military experience, meaning that he did not know how to best devise military plans. Since he had no experience, he had to listen to many other military officials, even the generals he appointed, to be able to have any sort of military action. But as soon as he understood how to lead armies, he decided to not listen to the other military officials because by listening to them, many mistakes, as in losses, were created for the Union. Lincoln himself Was a very strategic and intelligent man since he was a lawyer. His background led him to be a more accepting person than many others at the time. Where he was born, they were not judged by appearance, they were judged by how they worked.
In the beginning, Lincoln looked towards the military academies of the North to find his first general of the war. His first hope was an old and outdated general named Winfield Scott. He had led the army during the Mexican War, but had since grown fat and old, and was no longer able to carry out his duties as general.
A strategic way of choosing his generals that would please both the army and his supporters. He made sure to have a diverse collection of generals to represent the Union. His generals consisted of 8 Republicans and 8 Democrats, 2 of which were Irishmen and 2 others were German.
Lincoln turned to his first major hope of the war, George McClellan. McClellan had attended West Point and had earned top marks by his instructors. Plus, he was even nicknamed Little Napoleon by his peers. McClellan was, by all means, a competent general in terms of military strategy and intelligence. However, he never tried any plans too rash for fear of personal failure. An example would be the Peninsula Campaign, where he sat on his hands and called for reinforcements and refused to move, but Lincoln wanted him to move towards Richmond. Immediately after the defeat to Lee by McClellan during the Peninsula Campaign, Lincoln replaced him with a string of increasingly incompetent leaders, such as Joseph Hooker, who was wounded at the Battle of Chancellorsville, Ambrose Burnside, who led a series of failed battles against the Confederate general, and finally Tom Pope, who was defeated at the Second Battle of Bull Run. He was never able to really find a new general until George Meade,
Pushed into a corner and being hounded with criticism, turned to General George Meade. Meade was a very cautious commander, and when he defeated Lee at the pivotal Battle of Gettysburg, he did not pursue the retreating Lee, and Lincoln was livid.
At this point, Lincoln had a problem. He had already been through commander after commander to no avail. Each one was worse than the last, and each time the Confederates pushed further and further into Union territory. So he decided to learn about military strategy himself. He stayed up for days learning and relearning military tactics and reviewing over battlefield reports detailing more and more defeats. Lincoln realized that one of the main reasons that his generals were losing so much was because they were still using old, outdated tactics. Many of the strategies used by generals such as McClellan and Meade were ones that had been taught at West Point since its inception, back when ball and musket was used. So he decided to try to find a general who did not use the old ways, and instead thought about new tactics with the new rifles and new ways of battle.
Lincoln had heard about a general who won battle after battle in the West, especially when the general had taken Vicksburg from the Confederates. However, his cabinet had doubts. They had said that the general was too rash and too harsh to really lead a whole army. But Lincoln trusted him and trusted the way that the general fought. So he put him in command of the whole Union Army. The general's name was Ulysses S. Grant. The previous generals were either too timid or too incapacitated to complete their duties as military commanders, meaning that Lincoln had a problem on his hands with each passing one.
Grant had distinguished himself at the Battle of Shiloh, where he was able to defeat a large Confederate army by leading his tired and overextended men on a counterattack against a heavily defended Confederate position, killing the former top Confederate General Johnston. Lincoln's cabinet were very concerned with Grant's movements during the Vicksburg campaign, plus his brutality against the citizens, where he requested and got a naval bombardment against the city. However, Lincoln said he knows how to fight, and made him the general of the whole Union forces.